Hello, and everyone who is watching on YouTube and Dr. Carlos. My name is Kyler, and I'm a student from Oklahoma State University of Institute of Technology. And I'll be doing a presentation over the two temperature scales, Fahrenheit and Rankines. First, we should start off on what is a temperature scale. A temperature scale is a way to measure temperature relative to a starting point in a unit of measurement. Temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in matter. Four commonly used temperature scales that we use today are Kelvin, Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Rankine. How was the Fahrenheit scale developed? The first used temperature scale was an alcohol-based thermometer created by astronomer Ole Romer, which inspired physicist Daniel Fahrenheit to develop a new temperature scale. Ole Romer used a temperature bulb, and that was alcohol-based, that dyed with red coloring. He put it in a saltwater brine to determine a freezing point and a boiling point. In 1714, Fahrenheit developed a mercury-based thermometer that expands and contracts when exposed to different temperature. He also conducted his experiment using a saltwater brine. While being the more accurate scale, Fahrenheit still used Romer's reference points and divided his scale into four units, making 30 degrees Fahrenheit 7.5 Romers freezing and 240 degrees Fahrenheit 60 degrees Romers boiling. After Fahrenheit's death in 1736, his scale was recalibrated to make it more accurate. So nowadays we know that 32 degrees is freezing and 212 is boiling, which makes it two fixed points with a 180 degree separation. Daniel Fahrenheit also concluded that 96 degrees was the normal temperature for your body temperature, and as we know, it was later calibrated to be 98.6, which I don't know why it should be 98 degrees to become more simple. Why was the Fahrenheit temperature developed? One of the main reason it was developed was because there was not really any accurate temperature scales at the time, since Celsius has yet to come along. Once the British started conquering chunks of the globe in the 18th and 19th centuries, it spread the use of the Fahrenheit temperature scale. To this day, America is one of the few countries that still uses the Fahrenheit scale, which confuses the rest of the world. As you can see by the meme I picked out, I know it'll make you laugh, Dr. Carlos. And we know that another reason why Fahrenheit was commonly used, because Fahrenheit was adopted into the system in 1724, and I want to say that Celsius was adopted like later around 1736. So most English countries were used to using the Fahrenheit scale. And to this day, America has been the most stubborn country about using Fahrenheit, and will not ever switch to Celsius for some odd reason. Because I mean, I'm already used to Fahrenheit scales. I'm really not big on the metric system using Celsius yet, which I can understand it being more easy. How and why was the Rankine temperature scale developed? In 1859, Scottish engineer William John Macquorn Rankine developed a new temperature scale known as Rankine. As you can see, I used the unit RA to clear up any confusion on Romers or Reamers, which is RO or RE. The Rankine scale is the absolute scale that relates to Fahrenheit. The Rankine scale is preferred over the Kelvin scale by most aerospace engineers. So we know that the Kelvin scale and Kelvin, which is related to Celsius, and Rankine, that's related to Fahrenheit, both start at zero, which is the lowest possible energy or thermal motion that you can have in a temperature scale. The Rankine scale was developed to receive the absolute temperature of something. Daily Americans will most likely use Fahrenheit, like when you measure just the weather temperature, or like boiling water, or freezing water. But a lot of engineer programs were developed on Rankines and is easier to use for engineers. So most engineers use the Rankine scale because it's easier for them to do math equations for, since you're using absolute temperature of something. And I know aerospace engineers are the most common use. They use the Rankine scales probably more commonly than anybody in America, dealing with, I'm sure dealing with rocket engines, like dealing with high temperatures and everything makes it a lot easier. And we know that the Fahrenheit to Rankine conversion is R equals F plus 459.67. And we know that another use of a Rankine scales can be in cryogenics, because we know that cryogenics is very, very low temperatures in the negatives, and we know that physicists probably can use Rankines to clear up any messy math problems where they don't got to deal with negative numbers, which makes the multiplication and division a lot easier. And that is it. This is the end of the presentation. I hope I can see y'all next time for the next video project, and I hope I did a good job on covering the topics that we were supposed to go over today. I'll see y'all later.